Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. How are we all doing? How's everyone's day? Oh my god, Bullseye, I think this is the first time you ever complimented an outfit of mine. It's very nice. It's a nice change of pace. Thank you. See, Stan, I've been missing you. I've been missing at least one person having my back. It's been a while. It's been a while. I don't know. Actually, yeah, you know what, Bullseye, you've been nice before. You've been nice before. I think it's the first time you've not shit on what I'm wearing or had like some quip about what I'm wearing. That's all I'm saying. Heads. But honestly, I think you could benefit from some sleep. Genuinely think you could benefit from maybe a little bit of sleep. So, David, I actually can't remember the last time you were nice. To be super honest. Can't remember the last time. Do I look like an actual, productive? Wow. Look at me go. Really just killing it today. Getting compliments left and right. Really kind of loving this for myself. Not gonna lie. Kind of clean your retainer? Kind of loving this for myself. A little bit. I didn't like the other song. No, I'll do quite a few chapters today. I wanna do quite a few. So we'll at least get through like a good number of chapters. I've been pretty good lately. I don't think I've had many days where I've been super distracted. Or like screwed around or did anything like that. It's been like pretty good. So we're at chapter 987. Chapter 987. Warehouse clearance. Gonna see how she goes. See what happens. And we'll go from here. I'll start with it. After the greeting, everyone took their seat. Audrey swept her gaze across the third card of blasphemy placed behind him. Oh yeah, we were rated a tarot meeting. Yes. Pretty much. Placed beside Mr. Fool's right hand. She suddenly came to the realization that she had forgotten to obtain Roselle's diary entry for the Psychology Alchemist last week. I've been caught up with problem with having Rambus all week. Audrey, who felt that she had already brightened up, instantly felt a little melancholic. At this moment, Catley had looked towards a seat of honor at the end of the long molten table. She bowed her head and said, "Honorable Mr. Fool, I haven't received any Roselle diary entries this week at all. Queen Mystics hasn't provided any of the Emperor diary entries for 2 consecutive weeks. Did something happen?" Leisurely sitting at the high-backed chair, the Fool Klein felt somewhat puzzled as he couldn't help but have pessimistic thoughts. However, he swiftly denied the possibility because Ma'am Hermit didn't show any anxiety or concern. With the way Admiral Stars presented herself as a fledgling in need of mother in a dream world that in the ruins of the Battle of God, she definitely wouldn't be this calm if Queen Mystic doesn't reply to her for 2 consecutive weeks. Her anxiety might even prompt her to seek the Fool's help. That also means that she hasn't received a reply from Bernadette in the past 2 weeks, but none of Roselle's diary entries would be provided. Klein nodded gently as he replied Cattleya calmly, "No hurry. After seeing that, also hi Louvre. After seeing that, his thoughts raced as he began analyzing the reason for Bernadette's actions. First, Klein eliminated the possibility that she no longer had any more Roselle diary entries, combining the frequency at which the Emperor wrote diary entries. He summarized that the compiled diary would exceed 10 standard books. Even if Bernadette only had a third of that, she would definitely be capable of producing 1 or 2 books. In addition, the diary entries she had previously provided were just a tiny minority, which touched on crucial intelligence. Second, Klein didn't believe that Queen Mystic could gain the entire truth from the answers he had given. Finally, he was also certain that she could decipher the simplified Chinese she had in her hand from the tidbits of feedback she received. After all, she didn't give a detailed translation, but vague answers comprising of a few words. Combining all 3 points, she suspected that the diary entry Bernadette planned on providing next week would be even more important. They were more key and pointed to a certain secret or extreme special question that made one unsure if they wanted to know the answer. Thus, the Queen Mystic was presented in a dilemma. It's likely this case. I wonder what the Emperor will write out about. Besides, how is Bernadette able to know the importance of the entry? I should remember that to get Ma'am Hermit to pass on my requests. Ellen thought Alger had already turned to look at Leonard. I apologize, there's still no news of mystical items that meet your request at the moment. That's very normal, that's right. Mystical items from sequence 5 and 6 aren't common to begin with. Leonard nodded in understanding. He was originally sitting very straight, but when he found that the moon and the magical magician weren't so upright, he also relaxed, relieving the straightening of his back. Upon seeing this, Klein controlled the gold Gammon Sparrow and said with a hoarse voice, I have a mystical item that suits your requests in various aspects. It's just that it has quite a number of negative effects that make it difficult to avoid. Do you want to consider it? He was referring to the world of the sea. Klein had never had the intention of selling this item. That almost required sealing to Leonard, as if he felt that his dear poet friend couldn't withstand the negative effects of world of the sea. The belting of songs that didn't discriminate between ally or foe, the trait of tipping the wielder, or the flaw of being prone to lightning strikes weren't easily avoided. Klein was only able to use it teaching the world of the sea above the grey fog a good lesson. And having Winter and Enoni wield it to not be affected, he had even converted the flaws into something that could aid him. However, after considering how Leonard had a sequence 1 mortar pathway angel parasitizing him, Klein had the feeling that Leonard might have the means to resolve the problem. Therefore, he ultimately made an inquiry. Oh, tell me about it. Leonard believed that Klein wouldn't scam him, so he expressed his interest in getting to know the exact situation. The World Gammon Sparrow glanced at the hangman and said slowly, it can release lightning on a target. He roughly described it beyond a power of the world of the sea, and I keep getting tripped up by this, of the word of the sea, and a negative effects, leaving Leonard somewhat enticed despite frowning. It can actually be used as a staff to allow me to fly, even at sequence 5 Warlock. I need to seek out a suitable spirit before I can fly. Besides, the offensive strength really is formidable. There's always quite a number of traits, but the 3 negative effects are quite terrifying. I'll return to ask Old Man to see if he has any means to reduce the negative effects. Leonard pondered for a few seconds before saying, I'll take some time to consider it. How about I give you an answer next week? No problem, the World Gammon Sparrow replied without any hint of surprise. As for the other members, even if there were interest in the beginning, all of them gave up at thought of inquiring about the price. Only they had negative effects of the word of the sea possessed. Jesus Christ. At this moment, the Klein fool made up his mind and focused on another matter. He was wondering if he should take the opportunity to do a warehouse clearance sale. He had advanced to sequence 4, and after becoming a demigod, many of his items and characteristics had before were no longer of much use. I can keep creeping hunger. I should keep it just for the traveling alone. In addition, I can graze 1 sequence 4 saint. It is room for further growth. Furthermore, the combination of the various beyonder powers, it is pretty good. The value of Death Knell is no longer that great, but after activating lethal attack mode, the damage it does as fixed target exceeds that of air cannon. At the very least, I can still use it as sequence 4. Yes, it also has room for growth. The first two items that surfaced in Klein's mind were the two items he frequently used. From his point of view, as long as he obtained more powerful bullets, he could produce terrifying effects with Death Knell. The only problem was that such bullets were equivalent to the high-level charms, nothing that could be easily found. Even if he sought out the materials to make them himself, he had to consider the chances of success when praying to some high existence, or if it was possible for there to be backlash. On this aspect, Klein came up with a few plans. Pray to the goddess, request Snake of Mercury Wheel Septon to provide help, go through Leonard to get Pallas Zoras's help, use the powers of the mysterious base above the Great Fog, and also get Leonard to make a trip back to Tingen under the guise of a mission, so as to seal some of the powers of the Eternal Blazing Sun's divine blood from 3-0782, the mutated sun's sacred emblem. Flaring sun bullets are definitely the nemesis of creatures like evil spirits. I have some ideas on how to use the materials via borrowing the power of the mysterious base above the Great Fog. Amon's worms of time can be used to make luck siphon charms. My worms of spirit can also be made into Beyonder bullets. As for how it can be done, I'll need to ask Pallas Zoras. Klein began anticipating the upcoming chat with Leonard. I cannot read today. Worm of Spirit was the name that gave those transparent maggots. Following that, I began considering the other items and characteristics. Sunbrooch, I'm currently lack such powers and items, although I can use the control over spirit body threads to deal. No, never can read. I'm just really struggling today to put word into brain out of mouth. I can keep it and allow my paper angel to have one more additional change. Besides, I can also lend it to Downits from time to time. Flower of Blood, I can sell it. The Tarot Club doesn't have any Aurora Order members. I'll continue letting my marionette use it. Having one additional life is one additional hope. Greed Assets, I can sell this. I can transfer my ailments readily. Creeping Hunger also has a Dr. Graze. Murloc Cuffling, there's no need for this either. I have a sudden need for its powers. I can transform into huge fish, and in long term, I can just head above the Great Fog and use Sea God Scepter to augment myself with the effects. Broken Finger, I wonder if anybody would want it. Besides, I haven't fully investigated why the rat demigod was sealed. It might be of use. I have 1 Purifying Bullet, 6 Demon Hunting Bullets, and 2 Exorcism Bullets left. I'll just randomly use them. There's no need for me to sell them. Biological Poison Bottle, I haven't been able to sell it at all this time. Blather's Aura. Holy fuck, does he have a lot of trinkets. This can be used to make charms or bullets. I'll temporarily not sell it, but herein lies the problem. Am I to pray to the dark side of the universe? That can be struck off the list of options. I'll see if there are any replacement plans in the future. An Interrogator's beyond a characteristic, a Lunatic's beyond a characteristic, 15 milliliters of Thousand Face Hunter's Blood, 40 grams of Spirit World Plunder's Powder, an eyeball of the 6-winged gargoyle. Tarot Club members have no need for these. I might be able to reward the believers of the Sea God or the resistance of the Roasted Archipelago. As these thoughts flashed across his mind, Clyde quickly made a decision. As for items which were at least at a demigod level, such as the Sea God Scepter, Grozel's Travels, and the Giant King's Court Key, he didn't consider selling them. Then, he made the world Gammon Sparrow say, I have 2 mystical items for sale. Their levels are relatively low. Catley immediately replied, a low level doesn't mean it's useless. Many low-level Sequence Beyonders can even turn the tides of battle involving Sequence 5 Beyonders. I'm rather interested in knowing the detailed situation of those 2 mystical items. Klein nodded gently and described the use of flaws of Murloc Cuffling and Green Essence. After he was done, he said, Murloc Cuffling for 500 pounds, Green Essence for 1,000 pounds. Just as he said that, Audrey raised her arm. I wish to buy the Murloc Cuffling. She actually wished to say that she wanted both. After all, the 2 mystical items have extremely minor negative side effects. However, considering the others might have their needs, she found it inappropriate to take them all. Audrey finally decided to only take the Murloc Cuffling. This could provide her a layer of illusory scales, preventing her from being easily caught. And more importantly, good night. More importantly, she didn't know how to swim. This could effectively make up for her weakness. As for the heat and the dry weather easily causing fatigue, she wasn't too worried about it. This was because, be it in East Chester County or Backlund, the temperature seldom exceeds 30 degrees. The humidity was also rather high. Seeing Miss Justice having eyes on the Murloc cuffling. Merlin, I have to cut it short today. I'm only doing one more. This is the last chapter. Also, hello. Other members wisely gave up without raising the price, allowing the trade to quickly come to an end. Following that, Alger brought the green essence ring. To him, although the water domain had certain restorative spells, they were inferior to the dedicated items beyonders who often had to engage in a melee battle. It was of great importance. As for attacking mosquitoes, Alger wasn't bothered. This was because he had illusory scales beneath his skin, preventing him from being afraid of bites. After the transaction segment came to an end, Emlyn cleared his throat and asked a question. I'm just kidding. This is not my last chapter. Also, high transparent. Oh yeah, he wants them to help him, and he can do like a whole little. Oh, good luck on your exam, homie. I'm wishing you all the best. And then couldn't help but clasp his hands together, lift up his chin, and say to Miss Magician, diagonally opposite him, I've already confirmed that the ancient abandoned castle in the Delaire Forest is an internal test that the Sanguin has been given me, having hidden the key situation. Bye. Which, that said, he felt as though the weight has been lifted off his chest. He no longer felt as hesitant and embarrassed due to the difficult situation he was in. He surveyed Neri and looked for Ma'am Hermit and Mr. Hangman's reaction. He realized that they appeared to have expected it, showing no signs of surprise. From the look of it, they had already had an idea when Miss Magician mentioned the problem of the intel. Emlyn nodded his head in secret and added before Miss Magician replied, I'm very sorry, I'll refund you the £300 for the intel fee. In addition, I'll pay you another £300. Also, I will punish the Sanguin who deliberately omitted information. Although Mr. Moon always wears a proud demeanor, he's rather sincere when a mistake has been made. He didn't find an excuse to push the blame onto, however, he had already obtained the ancient race curse item and remnant spirituality, so the matter is already over. He didn't deliberately wish to cause harm to me and Shio. There's no need for me to get so much compensation. Forrest remembered Shio's exhortations. Without looking at her, she said, it's only a matter of oversight. There's no need for compensation. Just refund me for the intel fee is sufficient. Just as she said that, she suddenly thought of something. Since the ancient abandoned castle was a test of the Sanguin, didn't that mean that Shio and herself had been targeted by the Sanguin? Forrest finally couldn't hold back as she turned to glance at Shio. She found misjudgment shake her head slightly, indicating that she hasn't discovered anyone monitoring them. Forrest felt puzzled and found it inexplicable. She then allowed her thoughts to wander as she recalled the situation back then. We did the exploration only after quite a while. The Sanguin had already lost their patience by then. The boss of the town's inn knew that the ancient abandoned castle was a Sanguin disguise. That's not right. Many of the locals knew this matter. However, this place was far too away, and there wasn't anything of value left inside. That's why, unless one was out hunting, people usually wouldn't head in that direction. That's not right. If the ancient abandoned castle were the dangerous, why are people who use it for shelter from the rain completely fine? They only described it as a creepy and a little scary. Yes, the Sanguin would usually seal off the passage that heads underground. They open it for the test. That means that there was some form of monitoring. Because the ancient castle was too dangerous, the monitoring was done outside the forest and not inside. As Shio and I got lost, we circled around the monitors and weren't detected. Mr. Fool didn't mention anything about it. It's probably not a huge problem. More attention needs to be taken when I return. As for his thoughts raced, Emlyn said after pondering, okay. He didn't insist on additional compensation because he believed that the best form of compensation was to punish Ernest Boyer instead of giving money. Then he waited for Miss Magician to ask about the punishment, hoping that he could take the opportunity to make an inquiry about the Tarot Club members. He waited to see if he could get any good suggestions. As for Forrest, upon considering that it was an intel matter for the Sanguin, and that although she was a victim, Mr. Moon hadn't offered a plan for action, she decided not to press further in consideration for his feelings. Instead, she decided to wait for the conclusion to see if this satisfactory. The place that looked like a giant's residence turned silent as the moon turned odd. Audrey looked opposite her and and glanced aside. Pursing her lips, she cautiously asked Mr. Moon, how do you plan on punishing the Sanguin? Emlyn silently exhaled and subconsciously looked at the world. He did so because in orders from the higher-ups, I believe that this mistake isn't something that deserves payment with his life. In between the lines, Emlyn was implying that Mr. World didn't need to intervene on this matter. There was no need to escalate the matter. Seeing the World having no objections, Emlyn cast his gaze forward. I plan on lending the Sanguin to a particular cathedral of the Church of Earth Mother in Backland. Having participated in so many terror gatherings, even if he couldn't be concerned about certain details, he knew that requirement of hiding matters regarding himself in the real world. Therefore, he didn't mention... Hello there. Come back. He didn't mention the Harvest Church. The Church of Earth Mother only has one cathedral in all of Backland. That's the Harvest Church. The rest are all in the outskirts and surrounding villages. Leonard held back his laughter as he looked up the dome above. You wish to have the Beyonders of the Church of Earth Mother purifying that Sanguin. Forrest blurted out in surprise. From her point of view, this was no different from directly killing the person in question. Emlyn was momentarily at a loss for words. At that moment, Catley interrupted. The Church of Earth Mother has a habit of inducting the Sanguin into the church, converting their faith and making them priests or bishops. I see. With thoughts in his mind, Audrey glanced at Mr. Moon without letting him notice it. Getting the Sanguin to become a member of the clergyman, to pray daily to the cathedral, and to do volunteer work, so as to cleanse the heart. He would be stuck doing this for a very long period of time. Mr. Moon's plan for punishment is really vicious, however, I like it. That fellow nearly made me and Shio turn into ancient race due to the corruptive powers behind the door. Forrest instantly felt the interest piqued as she asked Mr. Moon, how do you plan on luring the Sanguin into the Cathedral of Earth Mother? Have you worked out a plan? Perhaps I can provide some help. You have to be careful. You mustn't enter the Cathedral of Earth Mother in order to punish him. That way, the only thing that can do is to request Mr. Fool for help. Of course, that might be something Mr. Fool wishes to happen, allowing him to have someone inside the Church of Earth Mother. After saying that, Forrest silently added. Upon hearing that, Leonard nearly laughed out. He was extremely certain that Mr. Moon was the Harvest Church Emlyn White. Clearly, this Sanguin was already a priest of Earth Mother. This is slightly akin to the drowning personality pulling others, and Leonard had black as laughter. Glanced at the world, and he found that his former colleague didn't seem perturbed. He appeared extremely somber. He couldn't help but think, is the power of the clown, or is it the state the Klein is accustomed to? At the end of the long molten table, the Fool Klein nearly covered his mouth. He never expected Emlyn to be so creative. This was a little like multi-level marketing, yet it's a little different. After all, it's not necessarily a good thing for Emlyn to know that. Klein leaned back into his chair as he awaited the development of piqued interest. As he had always kept his mind, Miss Justice's advance during his last treatment session about not always wearing a thick mask, he tried his best to do so when opportunities arose, so as to maintain a healthy mental state. Upon hearing Miss Justice's words for concern, Emlyn felt even more awkward because he went to the Cathedral of Earth Mother several times a day on a daily basis. He felt uncomfortable even if he skipped on weekends. He cleared his throat and said, I temporarily do not have a thought-out plan. I wish to get some suggestions from all of you. Yes, I hope that we do not have too intense a battle. It's difficult to ensure that the matter doesn't escalate, and I also do not wish for my identity to directly exposed. Miss Magician, there are no problems regarding your participation, but we will absolutely not be meeting each other. His ideas not directly exposing his identity meant that he didn't mind that Ernest Boyer and the other Sanguin could guess that he did it. It was a way to instill shock and awe in them, but it was also best that there weren't any obvious evidence. Forrest tersely answered, and she mimicked the other experienced members of the Tarot Club. First, you need to tell us what sequence the Sanguin is, roughly at, and what he's good at. Emlyn has already prepared the answer. He's equivalent to a sequence 5. He's quite experienced and is good at creating an effect of the full moon. Effects of the full moon. Forrest is perfect. Yep, perfect girl for the job. Forrest was taken aback as she turned to gate, but she wasn't able to say a word. After Emlyn finished the introduction, Forrest said with a hollow chuckle, Now recall that I have other matters to tend to. I might not be convenient for me to participate in the matter. When in a state similar to the full moon, she would hear Mr. Door's ravings, and this meant that she would instantly be heavily injured by the target, losing all her combat strength. Emlyn frowned, slightly displeased with Miss Magician's sudden change in attitude. At this moment, Shio, who had been listening silently, said, I can participate. I just need a portion of the spoils. Miss Judgment's tone is very firm. It's like she wants to exact vengeance. Emlyn mumbled silently to himself and glanced at Ma'am Hermit and Mr. Hangman, only discovered that they temporarily had no intention of speaking. It appeared as though they wished to observe what kind of plan the Backlund member of the Tarot Club could come up with. As for this involvement, her friends, and how it could be first mission that the Tarot Club members would participate in at the same time, Audrey was rather intrigued. In some observations, she said in deliberation, I can hypnotize the Sanguin, allowing him to enter the Cathedral of Earth Mother himself. However, to not expose ourselves and ensure a high chance of success, it's best that he's in a lost or half-dazed state while I hypnotize him. Mr. Moon, can you do that? Emlyn was summarizing his powers and items to consider a solution when Leonard suddenly laughed. It's simple, but I'll only be reasonable for making that Sanguin unconscious. Of course, the premise is that there's sufficient intel, and it depends on how we go about taking action. Just as he said that, Shio nodded and said, I'm good at tracking and investigations. You can leave intel matters to me. Alright, first Mr. Moon and I have to inform me of the Sanguin's name, address, and appearance. Alright, Emlyn heaved a sigh of relief before saying in a somewhat lost manner, then what's my part in all of this? Also, what kind of payment do you want? Oh my god, I'm getting close to chapter 1000. No, because here's the thing. This is the Tarot Club that I know and love. You know, I've been missing the planning out of war crimes, espionage, just casually jumping someone, maybe a quick drive-by. I'm so proud of them. This little terrorist cult that they have created. Look at them go. Mentor Alger. No, dude, right? Sometimes sometimes I just think about what like, here's the thing. If you were to just kind of join the Tarot Club, I get maybe why some people are like, whoa, when they first joined. Because I'm like, this is just a bunch of terrorists. Like, this is just some people that I would not want to fuck with. You know what'd be so fun? Oh my god, you know what'd be so funny? I should do this for, you know, the guy that went to jail because he was a whistleblower for the CIA? Could you imagine if someone was just like a whistleblower for the Tarot Club? That'd be so funny. Oh my god, that'd be a funny TikTok. I should do that. Yeah. Upon hearing the Moon's question, the rest of the Tarot Club members realized that the main instigator for the punishment had ended with nothing to do. According to the established plan, he had needed to do was provide, I don't know. I feel like somebody could be a whistleblower out of all the characters who are in the club right now, who do I think would do it? It wouldn't be Alger. It wouldn't be Audrey. Wouldn't be Leonard or... I don't know if it would be Leonard though, because I'm like, maybe Leonard, but I honestly... I feel like Emlyn would like accidentally do it, like he would accidentally like say something. Probably Shio. I feel like she would go yip yapping for the right price. Absolutely. And I can't blame her for that. That's what I'm saying. I feel like that would be it. I said Derek wouldn't. I was like, Derek wouldn't say anything. Derek wouldn't say anything. I feel like it would have to be Shio or Fours. One of those two. But, like, also get it. Like if they got paid enough and then just shipped away somewhere else, get it, girl. And then, like, maybe Emlyn would, like, accidentally say something that he's not supposed to. Leonard, I think, would be too cautious because of Klein. And then Alger just, like, wouldn't say anything. Audrey wouldn't say anything. Derek wouldn't say anything. But yeah. I think maybe those two would say something. Actually, no, because Katlia would be too scared after what happened the first time she talked. Yeah. No. I'm not saying Emlyn's too. I'm saying Alger would be. Oh, maybe not. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I can. Kelly got belt to ass. She will never talk again. No, she's terrified. So I don't think she would. I think best bet would be Shio. But then again, I also don't think so, because I think Shio's maybe a little too afraid. And then Fours relies on him too much. I don't think any of them are talking. I think the only one who's talking is Emlyn, and it's accidental. Yeah. Or, I hate to say it, I love him so much, Derek might say something. He might talk. I don't know. I know, I'm sorry. I'm like going through all the characters, and I'm like, I think the rest of them are too scared, and then the rest of them just rely on Mr. Fool. I think Derek's the only one who, if he had to, and I'm not saying he would, but he might, and I'm not slandering him. I mean, like, look, I'm not slandering him. I'm just saying, like, he could talk. He could. I don't think he would, though, but he could. He's the most likely to out of the group. I think that would be the... Okay, then maybe not Derek. I feel like Derek could maybe slip up and say something. I think he could. In the way that Emlyn would, but then Derek would continue talking if I feel like someone from his was like, hey, and they're like, burp, 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 burp. And they would go. Yeah, I'm on chapter, this is the chapter I'm on, so if it's anything after this, don't spoil anything. But yeah, we're talking about who would be the most likely to be a whistleblower in the Tarot Club. Maybe not. Yeah. I don't know. Actually, it'd probably just be Klein himself. He'd find a reason as to why, and it would probably just be him himself. So, no, literally, as I was saying it, it would just be him. It would be the world. It would just be himself. He would find a reason, and that I'm locking in that answer. It would just be Garamond Sparrow. That's what it is. According to the established plan, all he needed to do was provide the name, address, and appearance before waiting for the outcome. Miss Justice, because I can't see anybody else doing it, and I feel like if knowing Klein, he'd, like, find his own way to, like, need to do it, and then he would just yip-yap about it for some reason. No, literally. There's a fat bounty. He's getting that money. We're going back to Volume 1 Klein, where he was deciding whether he was gonna ride a carriage or eat for a week. I miss him so much. I related to him, and I was like, no, I can't relate to this Klein. He has too much money. He has too much money, he has too much power. I'm like, can't relate. Bring me back to the Klein that was sharing a room with his two siblings and had a communal bathroom. That's my Klein. Mr. Starr threw the Sanguin into an unconscious state without attracting any attention. Miss Justice would take the opportunity to complete the hypnotism act and make the target proceed to the predetermined location. In this entire process, there was nothing for the moon. Audrey deliberately said, "Mr. Moon, what do you need to do to ensure that the hypnotized Sanguin doesn't encounter the accidents on the way to the cathedral without him struggling or being rescued?" Upon saying that, Audrey suddenly realized the problem in the plan as she hurriedly added, "If that Sanguin is extremely resistant towards the Church of Earth Mother, the hypnotic effect would be as effective. Therefore, I plan on avoiding this point if possible. I will imbue in him the thought of nabbing some targets he hates, so that he wouldn't realize that he's entered an intended cathedral during the pursuit. How about letting you be the target of his hatred? This will require you to be able to ensure your own safety while maintaining a distance without being caught." "That's not a problem," Emlyn answered for some thought. With Duke Olmir removing his mental corruption of the Sequence 5 artifact Vampire Beyonder characteristic, Emlyn, just needed to wait until full moon to become a Viscount. This would place him in equal to Ernest Boyer, and this opportunity available next week. When that happened, he didn't believe that he would be caught up by the Viscount, just like him when he was equipped to the Ancestor's Ring. "If it really won't work, I can borrow Miss Magician's spellbook. I recall that there are powers in the wind domain." Emlyn was rather confident. By the side, Leonard felt a baffling sense of horror when he heard the conversation between Miss Justice and Mr. Moon. To him, no matter how terrifying a head-on battle was, it was nothing compared to the horror of doing something that went against his own will without him realizing it. He paused for a moment before replying to a second problem that Emlyn had raised. "My payment is the same as Miss Justice. Or Judgment. I'm going to fuck that up so many times. Misjudgment. I want a portion of the spoils." To Leonard, the entire matter required him to determine the time and location to pull the target into a dream before he left. He didn't need to care if the operation was a success or if any accidents cropped up. It was as simple as heading to a coffee shop in order to a cup of Desi coffee. The only thing that needed him to take into account was not expose himself. Therefore, he couldn't bring himself to ask for the advance payment, planning to obtain a cut from the final spoils of war. In addition, he believed that the necessary thing to do was to order a fully blend in with the tarot club. He didn't need to nitpick on such matters. Audrey turned her head to glance at Shio before retracting her gaze, revealing a smile. "My request is the same as Mr. Starr and Miss Judgment. I'll take a quarter of the spoils of war." In fact, she wasn't intended on getting payment because she believed that the Sanguin had bullied a tarot club member and her two friends. Punishing him was something she expected of herself. The reason she took the portion of the spoils of war was to take into account Mr. Moon's feelings. She was afraid if her voluntary help would leave the prideful Sanguin embarrassed and angry. Furthermore, Mr. Moon doesn't have any money. Oh my god, they're all working together. I love this. Also, I love the just slight shade that Audrey's throwing right now. "So the payment can only be a spoil of war," Audrey added silently, although she didn't deliberately keep count. Based on her ability to take note of details in the memory of the spectator, she believed that Mr. Moon, who had spent £5,000 to purchase Sequence 5 artificial vampire beyond a characteristic, wasn't in the best financial state. Furthermore, he had to refund the intel fee that he had earned. 4 participants, with each obtaining a piece of spoil of war. That's very fair. Emlyn nodded and surveyed the area. "Any other suggestions?" Fours asked in disbelief. "It's that simple? That's a Sanguin equivalent to a Sequence 5. The plan you came up with sounds like it would succeed very easily. In her mind, Sequence 5 Beyonders were the strongest among unaffiliated Beyonders. Some were even the host of gatherings. Even the powerful pirate admirals were Sequence. But now, in the conversation of the Star and the others, such a Sequence 5 was to be finished so simply. There didn't seem to be any difficulties. Upon hearing her question, Leonard thought and said, "As long as the Sanguin doesn't have any items that resist my powers, even if he's equivalent to a Sequence 5, I'll definitely be able to throw him into an unconscious state for some time. It will just depend on Miss Justice to grasp the opportunity. If I arrange the location and make preparations ahead of time, I'll be fine," Audrey replied in confirmatory tone. She was actually a little uneasy. After all, this was her first time in battle, but her confidence over her beyonder powers and knowledge of psychology and mysticism allowed her to say those words with confidence. After Fours heard the response, she suddenly felt her mind a little adrift. Without realizing it, apart from Mr. World, the rest of the Tarot Club members have the ability to finish the Sequence 5 Beyonder as well. That's right, Miss Justice is already a Sequence 6 hypnotist. With the cooperation of the Beyonder of the same level, there really is a relatively high chance of hypnotizing a Sequence 5 Beyonder. Just as Emlyn felt that this matter had been settled without needing any more questions to be raised, Alger, who had always been observing from the side, spoke. "As members of a secret organization, I believe that everything needs to be considered at a deeper level. Ah, Emlyn and Leonard cast their gaze at Mr. Hangman with a puzzled look. Audrey and Shio were taken aback before they realized something. Alger cleared his throat and looked at Derek. Since Delaire Forest's abandoned castle was a test, why isn't the obvious Sanguin a test well? Exactly, I knew that Mr. Hangman wouldn't give a warning. The fool Klein controlled the world Garamond Sparrow to nod. Cat Leah then looked at the hangman with a look of approval and agreement. This, Emlyn's pupils contracted for a loss of retort. In an instant, he found himself too careless. Leonard was taken aback. Immediately, he realized that he was too desultory. He had involved himself without fully understanding the details and without considering any of the latent risks. Of course, this style had to do with his identity as an official beyonder and his thought processes. As expected of Mr. Hangman, he considered all the details in such meticulousness. Audrey, you need to build up more experience. Audrey focused on something else as she asked, so we need to abandon the punishment and take action when the Sanguin are unable to maintain a secret surveillance. Alger chuckled and said, there's no need to. Just a few acts of misdirection would do. He then looked at Emlyn and said, first, hand the investigation of the Sanguin to a bounty hunter in Backlund. Use their existence to hide misjudgment's actions. Second, we determine the location. Try to do it near an Orthodox deity cathedral. They will effectively distribute any subsequent divinations. Third, before Miss Justice and the others take action, you have to do something that leaves one suspicious but is nothing eye-catching. Make it seem like you will be expecting revenge somewhere else so that to attract the eyeballs of the secret monder away, thus creating a desired opportunity. This is combined with the first point. Fourth, only after the Sanguin is successfully hypnotized to become the bait. Having said that, Alger paused. If there's an addition to divination, anti-divination, anti-prophecy at the demigod level, the entire matter will be flawless. Of course, Miss Justice, Mr. Starr, you must be disguised during the operation without leaving behind any traces. The speech left most of the members taken aback, especially Derek. He couldn't help but show his respect and amazement. Although he had no means of participating in the punishment operations as a member of the Tarot Club, he couldn't help but be concerned and pensive about such matters that required a clear line of thought. He hadn't noticed any problems with the original plan of Mr. Moon and company, so now he couldn't help but be impressed by Mr. Hangman's ability in such matters. Emlyn thought and said, you mean that I should use a superficial form of punishment to hide Miss Justice and Mr. Starr's secret operation? It's like I would make it appear that I'll take action in a particular corner of the square after Target leaves the coffee shop, attracting all the attention, but in actual fact, Miss Justice and company would already completed the hypnosis inside the coffee shop without anyone realizing it. Alger nodded gently. That's right. I learned something new. Mr. Hangman really is an experienced beyonder. Audrey felt overjoyed receiving an epiphany. The problem now was that there was to find an item or charm of anti-divination and anti-prophecy affect the demigod level. Leonard also felt that he had enriched himself greatly, and he asked. He wasn't too worried about himself since he had an angel grandpa in him. Forrest made the utterance before saying, I can lend out Lamano's travels. On it, there's angel embrace. It can also take a one portion of spoils of war. As he said that, she secretly glanced at the world Garamond Sparrow, heaving a sigh of relief when he saw the gentleman silent. Unbeknownst to her, the fool Klein had a very simple thought, angel's embrace. That sounds so much better than paper angel. With the punishment operation finally confirmed, Audrey didn't hesitate as she surveyed the area. I met the psychology alchemist counselor, Haven Rambus, last week. What? Haven Rambus is a counselor of the psychology alchemist? Leonard sat up in surprise. He had the urge to immediately report it to the archbishop and gather a team to arrest him. It was an occupational hazard. Almost instinctively, Leonard looked around the table and realized that none of the other Tarot Club members showed a hint of surprise. Instead, they were listening intently. They knew long ago. That's right, this is only my second gathering. I haven't had the chance to learn about many things. The secrets that get exchanged here sure are plentiful. Leonard checked his gaze and returned to his original sitting posture. After a slight pause, Audrey glanced at Shio, who sat 2 seats away from her. Before casting her gaze at Mr. Hangman, she continued, he attempted to cure me to interact with different nobles and understand their true attitude over different matters. I would then inform him of him. Thankfully, Mr. Fool had provided me with blessings of an angel, so I wasn't influenced in any way. What should I do next? You can even get blessings from an angel. Leonard looked around in surprise once more, only to see no reaction from other tarot club members. Obviously, he wasn't surprised that Mr. Fool had a few angels in existence under him. After all, the name and title corresponds to Death Consul, was one that he had heard numerous times. He was just surprised that the Tarot Club members were able to pray for assistance at the level. He viewed the secret organization in a new light, finding it more impressive. Meanwhile, Shio keenly caught on to a few keywords: noble, psychology, alchemist. Combining it with the blonde hair, emerald green eyes, Miss Justice's blurry figure, she began to connect it to a particular friend, Audrey Hall. Damn, okay. So she a little smart. However, she couldn't be sure because the blonde hair, black hair, blue eyes, and green eyes were common amongst the low and nobles. People just had different combinations. Besides, no one knew how many members the psychology alchemist had developed in the noble circles. Therefore, Shio couldn't directly point out Miss Audrey from the traits she noticed. As she tried to do a deeper level of observation, Alger had said, "There's no need to pay too much attention to this. The various Orthodox churches will provide protective measures to their believers and the rather important status. They will prevent them from being assassinated or hypnotized. This comes from experience that has been built up over thousands of years of history. It wouldn't be easily overcome. From another angel of the psychology alchemist really can control the nobles that simply by hypnotizing them. The ones ruling the country would be the royal family and the three churches. Clearly, reality is in conflict with that. Yes, just as you said, Heaven Rambus only gave you a cue to observe the true attitudes of the different nobles on different matters. This means that he's holding himself back greatly, afraid of doing anything too overboard. It is to prevent himself from leaving behind any clues. In addition, your true status amongst the nobles should be in a periphery. You have no way of directly involving yourself in various political matters. Therefore, in contrast, the protection of the monitoring over you would be too strict. This is also why Heaven Rambus targeted you." Bye. Mr. Hangman's analysis is very detailed. Although he often taught Little Sun and the others, he would secretly gain something during the process, wishing that he could get more useful information from the feedback. However, there's none of this time. It's the same for the suggestion of the punishment operations for him as well. On careful thought, his change has been happening for quite some time. It was just too obvious in the past. I even missed out on it. Audrey's professionalism stirred up as she quickly did a mental analysis of the hangman. She quickly had a theory, suspecting that Mr. Hangman was trying to transform his standing within the Tarot Club. Ever since Ma'am Hermit joined the Tarot Club and showcased her resources and channels at sea, Mr. Hangman has been unknowingly searching for transforming himself in a bid to distinguish himself from her. Before problems cropped up with the artisan, his transformation wasn't that obvious. Even Mr. Hangman didn't realize it himself. It was only recently that he seemed to finally come to the realization, and it to be true. Indeed, to maintain one's standing in the Tarot Club and raising of one's strength in one aspect, but providing help in an entire group is another aspect. Audrey's mind raced as she turned her attention back to the topic of her hands. She pondered for a moment, and subconsciously her tone turned heavy. Does this also mean that the Orthodox churches will have a certain level of surveillance, control, and guidance for the important nobles? This was something that she had thought about in a while, and Low and Charity Bursary Foundation office. She had subconsciously drawn a scene to represent her concern on the matter. In psychology, elements she drew in such state were often didn't point to something particular. That was more like an abstract expression in the cold eyes, mostly represented her fear for people monitoring and controlling her and her family. Combining it with her subconscious drawing, her worry for having Rambus cluing and celebrate the Mass in the Church of Evernight, her parents attended being in Backlund Archbishop. Audrey's interpretation was not only was she afraid that the hypnotist and accused of the psychology alchemist, but she also became fearful of the Orthodox Church. She couldn't be sure if they were directly used with beyond their powers to imbue thoughts into aristocracy believed with high standings, so as to guide them into doing actions and violated their true will. This was sacrilegious and rebellious to Audrey, who had received the Orthodox education from a young age. Therefore, she had tensed up back then, immediately burning the drawing. After hearing Miss Justice's question, Alger scoffed. This isn't very normal. When living in the human society, one has to accept a certain level of surveillance, control, and guidance. I know what you're afraid of, but think of it. Compared to someone using their powers, confirmed them from standing using their money and weapons to control and guide others, choosing beyond her powers to do something similar in essence. Is there any difference? The difference is that one knows that they don't wish to do it, but ends up having to do it. The others that they do not even have thoughts of being unwilling to do it. Audrey nodded and said, yes, this means a loss of freedom in one's mind and thoughts is most terrifying. Aldrich chuckled once more. How can there be completely free mind or thoughts? By choosing your faith and beliefs, you're naturally bound by your faith and beliefs. Yes, let's focus only on the Lowen kingdom. The three churches are equal and together with the royal family that creates balance between each other. If the Church of Storm goes overboard towards believers, that believer can easily convert to a faith of Church of Evernight. Therefore, under the situations, the Orthodox churches will tend to use their standings and beliefs as a religion to guide important believers instead of using beyonder powers. Balance. Audrey pondered over this term. She came to a new realization: the king's upper circles in the entire world. This was something she had come to contact with before, but she had never deeply understood the word. At this moment, many of her thoughts matured. Thank you for your explanation, Mr. Hangman. Audrey sincerely addressed him with honor title. Then, how should I deal with Haven Rambus? Alger calmly said, the problem with him isn't anything to panic about. You fully have the ability to run circles around him. You can provide him with unimportant information while keeping the core secrets you hear. You can seek this opportunity to obtain potion formulas and even the beyond ingredients. After some time, when there are corresponding changes, you can consider switching strategies. Of course, you can't be too careless. Duke Negan is an example of this mistake. Just as he said that, sitting at the bottom of the long molten table, the World Gammon Sparrow glanced at Miss Justice. He said with a hoarse smile, when the time comes, even if Haven Rambus were to die, no one will suspect you. Even if Haven Rambus were to die. He's a demigod. Mr. World has plans of attacking Haven Rambus. It's impossible. He has always been investigating Mr. C's suicide case. He was even the one who informed me of Hammond Rambus's true identity. Audrey's eyes widened slightly. She felt perturbed. Even when she felt the most fear towards Hammond Rambus, she had never had thoughts of killing this psychology alchemist counselor. All she considered was the means to avoid being guided. On the one hand, it was because she didn't have such thoughts, and on the other hand, it was because he was a demigod. This meant that the top-ranking power of the kingdom and the churches. I understand what needs to be done. Thank you, all of you. Audrey drew a breath and politely thanked them. Klein sure sounds bombastic these days. Yes, he even wishes to get rid of Amon's avatars in Backland. Having Rambus is really nothing. Leonard looked at the World Gammon Sparrow with mixed feelings. Catlia and company also remained silent. On the topic of the psychology alchemist coming to an end, Klein controlled the World Gammon Sparrow to make him look forward towards himself. Honorable Mr. Fool, I wish to communicate privately with Mr. Starr. Klein temporarily didn't wish to let the other members of the Terror Club learn about the eradication of Amon's avatars. It wouldn't be good for keeping the matter confidential, and it might lead them to target it by Amon. Sure, Mr. Fool naturally didn't deny his own request. As Leonard was feeling pognant at the possibility of a private communication, he informed Klein of the main point in Palazover's reply. It also included the problem of the Worm of Time beyond a characteristic loss. This made Klein suddenly realize how he wished to use his worms in spirit to create charms and bullets, split off a few, and kill them. When the characteristic contained in them returned to his body, returned to his body, the remaining material can also be used like the Worm of Time. The only problem is that killing the Worm of Spirit deals a certain level of damage to himself. After all, the Worms and Spirit contains a part of my spirit body. Yes, I have the limited of numbers each time. Only after I fully recover can I do it again. In thought, Klein got the World Gammon Sparrow to reply, I will try my best to confirm the blessings of concealment impossible before I give you an answer. If there's no problem, we can attempt to seek out sealed artifacts in the Marauder pathway in the demigod level. Of course, I will try to think of the means to identify the grafting of fate. Klein wasn't sure if observation from above the gray fog would allow him to see the truth of fate, just like how he was able to see his believers being parasitized. Hence, he planned on using paper cranes to contact Snake of Mercury, Will Ossepton, and gain his expert opinion. Has it always been Snake of Mercury? Okay, I think I'm just having a moment. All right, as Leonard grumbled about the old man would have fully recovered if demigod-level sealed artifacts at the Marauder pathway were that easy to find, he nodded slightly in response. I know, I think I'm just having a moment. cannot... Okay. Okay, yeah, Snake of Fate involved. I was like... I was just having a moment. After ending the private conversation, Klein made the world's Gammon Sparrow look at Kalia. I'm like, oh well. Why does it have to be so short? Why does their little moments have to be so short? Please inform Queen Mystic that I wish to meet and talk about something. The exact time and location is up to her. Queen Mystic, so Ma'am Hermit represents the royals above the 5 seas. Leonard was first taken aback before he came to the realization. What's the matter? Ketley frowned slightly in a warm manner. I will forward her your invitation, but I cannot provide any guarantees over the agreement. Okay, the word Gammon Sparrow nodded simply, indicating that it was fine. At this moment, Derek finally had an opportunity as he asked, "Oh, Derek!" Everyone. He glanced at Mr. Hangman and Mr. World before continuing. The ritual needed for me to advance the Priest of Light requires pure darkness. I need to bury my entire body in At that point, I'm never advancing. At that point, I'm actually good. In ice that usually doesn't melt. In the City of Silver, such ice isn't difficult to find. However, we do need to create pure but safe darkness. So, that's the Priest of Light's advancement ritual. Little Sun sure is honest and simple. Dude, I fucking love him. He's so cute. He's just so pure. Due to her lack of experience and knowledge, Audrey was unable to provide any substantial suggestions. All she could do was cast her eyes at the person she believed was capable of resolving the problem, Mr. World. The world, Mr. Gammon Sparrow. And at the... No, I know, but like honestly, I just love Derek. He's just so cute and just pure. And at that moment, the world raised his hand and pinched his temples. As for the Fool Klein, he was rapidly trying to think of a solution. If it were the outside world, pure darkness is extremely easy to obtain. Ice that normally doesn't melt would be the most troublesome things to obtain, but in the City of Silver is the complete opposite. Darkness is too dangerous, just being within the result of one's disappearance or suffering the attacks of strange monsters. I get Leonard to provide charms to the Evernight domain, and then I can stir some of the powers of the mysterious above the gray fog. Using Little Sun's prayers, I can provide an area of artificial darkness, but the problem lies in being able to determine if this would bring a normal danger to the City of Silver encounters. This is not something that can be answered with divination. When matters do not involve myself, I can only determine if the matter is dangerous or not, or when matters should be done. And under such situations, there are too many elements involved, and the source of dangers are divisive. Yes, I'll summon a Rhodes later and ask it. Oh my god, yes! More Rhodes! Klein had previously been considering the problem over Little Sun's advancement, but he had never been able to find the answer. Seeing the world silent, Leonard, who had originally wanted to say that the creating pure darkness is extremely easy, slowly shut his mouth. He began pondering over Little Sun's words and caught notice of the word that he ignored, safe. In the Forsaken Land of Gods, in the City of Silver, darkness was equivalent to danger. Leonard roughly grasped the key idea, but due to his lack of understanding, he was unable to provide any suggestions. Finally, it was Alger who spoke. Of course it was. He glanced at Derek and said, I will help you gather information and seek out solutions, but in process, you might need to provide some help to confirm that it can be done. No problem, Derek answered with They're literally so brother-coded. Like, Alger, like, in my brain, Alger is Derek's older brother, and you can't convince me otherwise. They just are. And it's not like close in age. Like, it's like Alger's 18, 19 years old, and Derek is like 14 years old, which I know like is Derek's actual age in the book, like 14 years old, but like it's that kind of age gap, you know? It's giving, what was their names? From Big Hero 6. Tadashi and Hiro Hamada. That's who they remind me of, and I love it so much. There's no need to rush it. I still have about a month before I can finish digesting my notary potion. Alger nodded gently, indicating that this wasn't something that needed any reminders. At that moment, Katlia deliberated for a moment and said to Derek, perhaps we can consider this problem from another angle. Your advancement ritual wouldn't last too long. We can simply increase the time you can survive in pure darkness to resolve this matter. I remember that you've mentioned that after being left in the darkness with zero light, there are two dangers. The first would be the attacks from strange monsters that come from unknown origins, and the second would be a baffling instance of disappearance that is akin to vaporing. Evaporating! Oh my god. The former situation is easy to resolve. You can make a request for your chief for certain sealed artifacts, or you can get him to stand guard by your side. As for the second case, I didn't know enough. You can attempt to ask your chief. Derek thought about it carefully and suddenly felt that this was a viable train of thought and a rather significant chance of success. He immediately replied in a pleasant surprise, "Thank you, Ma'am Hermit." The exchange and learning session continued until the gathering slowly came to an end. Seeing that it was almost done, the fool Klein rapped gently on the corner table. "Let's end it here for today. Your wish is our will." Audrey and company stood up and bowed reverently. After he vanished from a gray fog, Klein left the area and returned to the real world. He took out his wallet and got the paper crane, which was folded by Will, accepted, spreading it across the table, and picked up a pencil and simply wrote, "There's something." After folding the paper crane and stuffing it under his pillow, Klein got into bed and generally took out an afternoon nap. In his hazy dream, he once again saw the pitch-black plains of the towering steeple. Passing through the plains and through the wooden doors, Klein arrived at a familiar corner. The black pram came out of the thick shadows as Will stepped in, wrapped in silver silk, sucked on his right thumb, and dried angrily. "You are getting more and more impolite." I know, I don't know why, but the only thing I picture when I picture like Will Septon and stuff, I know it's supposed to be kind of like, oh, fuck, I can't remember if it's like Dark Souls or Demon Souls, where it's like Magos' baby at the end. I know it's supposed to be kind of like that, but all I picture is Boss Baby. Whenever, like, in his little suit and tie, and I don't know why, but that's all I picture when I think of Will Septon, is the baby from Boss Baby. And that's all I can do. But, like, in the, like, setting of Magos' baby from the video game. Like, that's what it is. It's literally the Boss Baby, but, like, in the setting of, like, Magos' baby from, like, I'm gonna look it up if it's Dark Souls or Demon Souls. I can't remember which one it was. But that's literally what it is. It's literally just that. And he's wearing the suit and everything, and he's like, "What do you want?" Like, bro. The black pram came out. "You're getting more impolite." Klein laughed dryly and said, "With our relationship, there's no need for such pleasantries, right?" I think is it Bloodborne? I can't remember, but that would actually make sense, because I think it is. Because isn't Bloodborne the one with the spider? I think it is Bloodborne has... It is Bloodborne. Because that's the one that has the baby's cry. Okay, you're right. "Speak, what's the matter? This is the thing I recently encountered Amon's avatar," Klein said directly. The baby's mouth widened a little as he thought. He was about to cry. It took him great effort to control himself and say, "I haven't been born for more than a month. There's nothing I need from you. I only wish to ask you a question." Klein quickly added. Willow Septon raised his fleshy arm and waved it. "What is this?" Klein immediately said with a smile, "Amon's avatar can steal the destiny of others and appear." Yeah, okay, so it is Bloodborne. Because it's the baby crying, that's the one in, like, the pram at the end of the game when you're fighting it. Okay. So it's the baby from Boss Baby, but, like, in Bloodborne. That's what I picture every single time. They have their little, like, conversation. "There's nothing I need from you. I only wish to ask you a question." Will Septon raised his fleshy arm and waved it. "What is that?" Klein immediately said with a smile, Amon's avatar can steal the destiny of others and appear while replacing their identities. I wish to know how I can see through such a terrifying matter. Willis up and chuckled as he pointed up into the sky with his index finger. Pray for help. From the looks of it, using the powers of the gray fog can be used to discover the grafting of destiny. Klein heaved a sigh of relief as he felt even more certain. When he thought of the word using, he was referring to using his marionette to pray to the fool while he entered above the gray fog. Though the point of light representing his believers, he could survey the surrounding area and seek out any abnormalities, in a sense. This was equivalent to the fool's observation, and equivalent to the augmented true vision. But the problem is that I can't stay above the gray fog to observe for grafting at the time. I might be the case that in between two of the observation periods, Mon couldn't enter Bulklin Street and have done something. Klein thought before asking with some deliberation. Anything you would like to remind me of? Willis Upton turned his head away without looking at him as he mumbled, You have to visit me and my parents once this week during high tea. Nope. No problem. Klein agreed without any hesitation. Only then did the baby turn his head back and giggle. Next week, around Wednesday or Thursday, there might be some changes in your destiny. Is that so? Klein nodded and thought as he watched the black pram slowly retreat into the shadows. I can't. It's so funny. It's so funny. After waking up from his dream, he packed up his items and began setting up the altar without any rest. This time, the target of his prayer was the Evernight goddess herself, not artificial death. This was to prevent Amon from preying upon the source and stirring via the changes in destiny, and thus noticing something wrong. How could the evening Evernights blessed be praying to artificial death? After setting up the ritual, Klein wiped his face and turned into the cold-looking Garamond sparrow. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Causing his height to drop a little lower. I forgot that he was short. I forgot that Garamond sparrow was short. No, don't do that to me. No. It's okay. It's okay. I still love my short king. After No, I know, but like, no, because here's the thing. I feel like I can't really complain. I'm like, 5 foot nothing on a good day. So, after igniting the first 2 candles in front, Klein made the ordinary yellow representing himself burn with the yellow flame. There was 2 candles in front. Once the candle made the night vanilla and slumber flower to represent Evernight, and the other candle was made of white chestnut flower and wild rose to represent concealment. Following that, he created a wall of spirituality, dripped full moon essence oil, and burned some of the herbal powders that pleased the gods bit by bit. He completed the ritual. Towards the end, Klein took 2 steps backwards, activated his spear vision, chanted softly, I pray for the power of the dark night. I pray for the power of the mystery. I pray for the power of the mystery. Why am I reading it like that? I pray for the goddess's loving grace. I encountered Blasphemer Amon's avatar in Backland. He was gathering the characteristics of the Moroder Pathway demigod. I seek for the blessing of concealment so as to complete the mission of eradicating the Blasphemer's avatars. Night Vanilla, a herb that belongs to the Red Moon. Please pass my supplication to the goddess. Moonflower, a herb that belongs to the Red Moon. Please pass my supplication to the goddess. After he was done chanting, Klein patiently waited for a while, but nothing happened. There wasn't any reply. The goddess is in a crucial period of gaining control over the death pathway's uniqueness and is unable to respond beyond anything normal. Should I try to pray to artificial death? After all, if there is any blessings of concealment, Amon wouldn't be able to see it. If it doesn't, then the source of stirring destiny wouldn't be point to me. Klein frowned little by little as he ended the ritual and cleared the altar. He felt that he needed to find other solutions. Am I changing music now? I change music now. I change music now. After he finished clearing the desk and turned around, prepared to head for the reclining chair, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The figure wore a simple linen robe with signs of patching. By the figure's waist was a belt made of tree bark. Raven black hair cascaded down freely, and the figure's feet didn't wear any shoes or socks, making them covered in dust and wounds. It was a lady. She had extremely normal facial features. Her ghostly black eyes were no different from the common person's, but just looking at her left, Klein feeling a sense of extreme peace and serenity, even though feelings of alarm rose up within him. They were unable to overpower the peacefulness. Okay. Bro, I promise this song is playing is just insanely quiet. It's like a weird, eerie quiet, too. Okay, let me fix it really quick. Let me learn how to spell. Is it better? Is it better? Can you hear it? Are you able to hear it? There you go. Okay. Chapter... Oh, right, I should probably... Thank you for reminding me. I'm gonna change back the music of like womp, womp, womp. Okay, chapter 998, Rose, congratulations. You are, Klein asked in a rather complicated state of calmness. The lady in the simple robe nodded and said, Ariana, servant of concealment. Servant of concealment, Ariana. Klein's eyes contracted as he knew who the lady was. As a former Nighthawk, how could he not be aware of the name Ariana? She was Evernight Cloister's matron, head of the 13th Archbishop. A likely candidate for future pope. Regardless of which identity she had, she was part of the general knowledge that couldn't be avoided in religious studies and mysticism. As for the name Servant of Concealment, Klein had read about it in Emperor Rozel's diaries. Considering the similar name of Attendants of Mysteries, he suspected that this point in the angel, meanwhile, based on the law beyond a characteristic conservation, was with a sequencer in existence. It meant that the attendant of the mysteries could be a sequence 1 angel. Therefore, Klein believed that the servant of concealment was likely sequence 2 of the Evernight pathway. It isn't that the goddess didn't reply, but she used a very special way to respond. She directly sent her servant over. Klein felt mixed emotions that could hardly be described. He felt silent for a few seconds before giving a solemn bow. Good afternoon, Your Eminence. In the various churches, if the demigod at an angel level walked the land, there was a need to address them as Your Eminence, as a show of respect. Likewise, towards the pontiff, pope, and chief shepherd representatives of the deities, one had to use holiness. Your Holiness. In addition, the churches... No, I'm about to say. The church's head was synonymous with the Holy See or Apostolic See. Of course, many of times the Holy See could also represent the church's headquarters itself. Ariana tapped the chest 4 times clockwise fashion and replied in a pious manner, May the goddess bless you. She then said, I am ascetic. You can just call me ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Ariana. Klein did insist. Ariana looked at him calmly for 2 seconds and directly asked, You plan to deal with Blasphemermon's avatars in Backland? Yes, I wish to obtain the blessings of concealment, Klein frankly replied. At this moment, he felt a little slumped, because this was different from what he experienced. He originally expected the goddess to answer by blessing him. Then, he and Palazoras could join forces and wipe out all of the Mon's avatars in Backland during the process. It wouldn't expose Leonard or the Mortar Pathway Angel, but now, with the blessings becoming something corporal that would be involved in the battle, Palazoras would immediately be discovered once he took action. When that happened, it was hard to predict what would ensue. Don't tell me I need to ally with Pallas Zorast. I'll only get him to provoke intel and then split some of the spoils of war. Client thoughts rapidly ran through his mind as Ariana spoke unhurriedly. I can provide the power of concealment to shield anything that happens to the preying of fate. However, I cannot guarantee that I'll eliminate any of Amon's avatars in Backland. Pallas Zorast said that he has a means of doing so. The person who understands Amon the best is indeed a sequence one of the same pathway. Klein thought and said, Ma'am Ariana, I have already come up with a well thought out plan. All I need is to provide the power of concealment. You do not need to be involved in the actual battle. Leave the rest to me. Ariana nodded and raised her right arm as she spread her palm. Points of light lit up profound and resplendent as they quickly outlined the emblem in her hand. This emblem was completely crystallized as though it was made of obsidian. It made one realize the existence when looking at it, but it reappeared to vanish when not looking at it. This is my Evernight coat of arms. It doesn't possess any characteristics or power by itself. The only use is that when triggered, it will establish a connection with me, regardless of where you are in the real world. Ariana explained simply, before you begin your operation, remember to use it. It will provide you with the power of concealment. If you need more direct assistance, use Ancient Hermes. To chant Ariana when triggering it. This is equivalent to an internalized altar and ritual to point her out. At the level of an angel, the range of response and prayers is extended to the entire world. Klein instantly grasped the true nature of Evernight coat of arms. As a bizarre sorcerer, he did not have the means to reply to the prayer. This was a trait that could be obtained only at sequence 3. Of course, at the Sea God and the Fool, he was very well versed in such matters. Klein didn't stand on ceremony and accepted the borrowed sincerely. Thank you. After saying that, he tapped his 4 spots counterclockwise manner in his chest, forming the sight of crimson moon, and praised the lady. This way, he could still join forces with Pallas Zorast as long as he triggered the Evernight coat of arms without using Ancient Hermes to chant Ariana's name. Everything would be fine. Praise the lady, Ariana replied piously. Her figure then vanished as though she had been erased by an eraser. This is the departure by entering the concealment state. Klein pursed his lips in thought. Meanwhile, he was filled with suspicion over Ariana's swift arrival. After all, the Evernight pathway was well versed in methods such as teleport. To go from winter country all the way to Backland required a significant amount of time. My ritual isn't the kind of prayers that direct deceit. Could it be that Ma'am Mariana happened to be in the vicinity in the Backland diocese? Isn't that too much of a coincidence? If it isn't one to only serve to exacerbate the problem, what is she doing in Backland? The undercut the stirring. Klein retracted his gaze and patiently waited a while before turning back into Dwayne Dantes. He found a pen and some paper. Once again, he drew symbols, the mixture of concealment and mystery praying. When he finally stroked was written. In full body mirror in the master bedroom produced a dark but pure light as though it was silently undercut and was surging for the bottom of a lake. Right on the heels of that, fireworks appeared bursting into the sky. Colors of gold, silver, red, and blue exploded as words formed in the mirror. Welcome back, great master. Your humble servant of Rhodes has witnessed the revival of a portion of authority. I think I had a stroke reading it too. I understood what's going on. He has concealment and the ritual, and she's like, hey, if it doesn't call my name. I think honestly the song fucked me up. I kept clicking every time. I didn't click, but my brain every time it glitched out. And now he's talking with Rhodes, which let's go. Your humble servant of Rhodes has witnessed the retrieval of a potion of your authority. I'm thrilled that you are gradually recovering your aura. You will eventually return to your supreme position and make the entire world turn silent under your watch. This is really passionate. There's always something new. Klein nodded in silence. I've noticed that too. Rhodes is always kind of yip-yapping about Klein taking power and returning to his glory and everybody following his lead. I am Rhodes, what do we know? What are we talking about here? Really curious, what we're yip yapping about. You will eventually return to your supreme position. Amidst the fireworks, those words dissipated and formed into a new sentence. Great Master, what instructions do you have for me? I have a question, Klein said calmly. In a place where being in darkness can result in danger, how should one create a safe but pure darkness? There are two kinds of dangers involved. One, it will make a person directly vanish in darkness, and two, it will cause strange monsters to appear and attack. The fireworks and full-body mirror calmed down, and an aqueous light rippled out. Silver words surfaced from one of another. Great Master, referring to the forsaken land of the gods. Question mark. This magic mirror actually knows quite a lot. He gave me a free question in passing. Klein nodded and said, that's right. Without any breaks in between, Erode's full-body mirror produced new lines of Loanese text. The formation of the forsaken land of the gods is related to the second creator's fall. The danger of the night there stems from the transformation of the two essential powers. First, it's the remnants of the Evernight goddess's divine powers. Pause. The formation of the forsaken land of gods is related to the second creator's Do we know it's the second one? Danger of the night stems from two. First, the remnants of the Evernight goddess' divine powers. Second, it's the influence left behind by the creator. He wielded partial authority over shadows, darkness, fallen, corruption, and mutation. The former makes creatures vanish into thin air, while the latter produces monsters in the darkness. So there are two types of danger stem from the different powers. It's no wonder that there's such a huge difference. Rhodes called the ancient sun god the second creator. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, that was a very casual, just like... This is very close to my theory. Amon and Adam's father isn't the reawakening of the original creator, but a transmigrant who inherited a huge inheritance. Klein asked and thought. In that case, the Evernight goddess was involved in the fall of the second creator. This was something Klein had vaguely expected. This was from the trait of humans evaporating the darkness of the forsaken land of gods. It was very similar to the strange disappearance if one didn't sleep at night in the ruins of the Battle of the Gods. We knew this. And based on Little Sun's description, king of the demonic world Sogrea, who wielded control over the Evernight concealment authorities, had long perished in the Second Epoch. It was impossible that he had done it. Therefore, unless there was another deity of the Evernight pathway born in the middle, it was difficult for the two abnormalities to not have Evernight gods involved. On the surface of the mirror, the silver light rapidly converged, forming a short sentence. That's right. That's right. Klein was about to press on when he immediately shut up. He had just recalled one of his identities, blessed of the Evernight. Therefore, even without anyone watching him, he had to show respect to the deity and not seek out relative secrets. No, Klein, no. I want to know. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I don't. Who cares? Who cares? Of course, time in the mysterious space above the great fog was excluded. He was just about to focus on the main question from before when he urged Rhodes to list out solutions when he saw the silver words on the full body mirror change. Great Master, your loyal servant of Rhodes wishes a small favor from you. Can we not discuss matters regarding the Evernight goddess? No! Rhodes, you fucking pussy! I want to know! I want to know! Who cares? At the end of the question, a simple stick figure was drawn. Just as I wished, Klein deliberately pondered for 2 seconds and said, okay. Silver swirls on the surface of the mirror immediately. I mean, I get it. I get it. I guess I would, like, maybe, you know, tread carefully. No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I know that she probably, like... But here's the thing. I'm here for the women's rights. I'm also here for the women's wrongs. She's innocent. So, all I'm saying, whatever he did, he probably deserved it. Hate to say it, probably deserved it. She did no wrong. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And that's also, here's the thing. I feel like me and then Mommy Evernight, we just sit down, couple espresso martinis, bottomless, on a patio. We just kiki, we yip yap. She tells me all the secrets, I tell her all the secrets, and I'm just like, you know what, girl? Absolutely. Absolutely. You did nothing wrong. Did nothing wrong. Because apparently Klein doesn't want to know what happened, but I do. One is to accept the corruption. Okay, what was I? As for the question you asked, there are two solutions. One is to accept the corruption and let oneself transform into monsters of the darkness. The reason why these creatures do not vanish into thin air during the dark. Bottomless espresso martinis. Or mimosas. Either one works. Mix of both. During the night is because they have received the protection of the fallen authority. This way, all the darkness is equivalent to safety. The second is to create darkness that comes with the dream world. This is to allow the spirit body to receive protection of the dream, thus slowing down the encroachment of danger at night. Oh, no. I mean, maybe. Depends on how many of those bottomless mimosas we get. But I was strictly talking alcohol, you know? Goes without saying. Wouldn't hate it. Allowing the spirit body to receive protection of a dream to slow down the encroachment of danger at night. This is similar to the necessity to sleep when night fell to the ruins of the battlefield of the gods. Also, the powers of the forsaken land of gods likely isn't under the gods' control. Once one vanishes in the darkness over there, they definitely won't enter the foggy town. Where will the point towards? Or would they stay in the same spot, unable to interact with companies and the real world until they die of starvation or old age? After reading Rhodes' reply, Klein was somewhat entangled as he roughly grasped the crux of the issue. Loving this. However, he felt that he wasn't necessarily useful because the sun only required pure darkness. So that it could be buried in the ice and normally melt to consume the Priest of Light potion. Once he entered the dream, there was no way for him to control his body and complete the critical step. That way, he even could remain in the darkness for prolonged periods of time. It would be meaningless. Yes, I'll wait till Little Sun asks the chief of the city of Silver before coming up with the actual plan based on his answer. Of course, before that, I can try to get a corresponding solution from Leonard and figure out how to create the darkness from the temporary dream world. Klein nodded, slightly acknowledged the answer provided by the magic mirror. As for the first option of accepting corruption and turning into the monster of the darkness, it wasn't even considered. It was an extraordinary world. It wasn't equivalent to committing suicide, which almost could be reversed. Upon considering how one would asked, Klein deliberated and asked. Let's see what Klein asked. Crazy. Lord, please. Please, Lord. It'd be very nice. If you, Lord. Sorry, no, wait. I forgot to turn it down. I forgot to turn it down. That's my bad. That's my bad. I really hope that wasn't like, holy fuck. Don't worry, it like also kind of bled into my eardrums and I was like, I can only imagine. Had my hand on the volume. As you should. Like, here's the thing, as you should. Do not expect that I'm gonna save your ears. I scream into the mic at least once a stream. So. Okay, I don't even know. Where can I obtain the potion formula for Seer Pathway Sequence 3, Scholar of Yore? A full body mirror surface had aqueous light ripple once again as it reflected the dark cathedral without any natural light. Klein found the space very familiar as he immediately recalled what it represented. This was where Zeratul, who had turned into a monster, hid. However, this time, deep in the cathedral, the cluster of blurry and huge maggots were no longer present. Just as Klein's pupils dilated, a silver word appeared beneath the screen description. Great Master Zeratul has vanished. Bro, where'd he go? Where he at, though? Where he at? I can't find him. Vanished. Klein momentarily forgot to breathe. Although he had known of Zeratul's return since he was the one who began the chain reaction of opening the door in the foggy town, he never expected the big shot to secretly leave the cathedral, his whereabouts becoming unknown. Even Rhodes is unable to locate him. What is he plotting? And more, Klein thought, the more chill ran down his back. After going to sequence for Demigod, he could confirm one thing. His control over the mysterious world above the Grey Fog was still insufficient. He could temporarily only converge the leaking specialness that it had augmented him in the real world, making it difficult for Beyonders of corresponding. I didn't loop it. Corresponding pathways to see it, but it wasn't able to repress the law of beyond a characteristic convergent. As for the Grey Fog, it had proven time and time again that it had an invisible form of attraction towards Beyonders of the Seer, Apprentice, and Marauder pathway. Among them, the effects of the Seer pathway was even more evident. Besides, I myself am quite an attractive sequence for Bizarro Sorcerer. Yeah, you are. Sorcerer. It's not even possible for Zeratul to suddenly come to Backland one day. Klein maintained a deadpan expression and said to the full-body mirror that was switching scenes. Got it? A road presented another scene which Klein was equally familiar with. It was the Antigonus family's treasure trove at the peak of the Hornicus mountain range. Below the scene, silver words quickly surfaced once again. Great Master, there's another possibility, but I can't tell. I just know that it's easier than the first two. The Antigonus family's notebook isn't there this time. That's right, it will lead to the wielder to the main peak of the Hornicus mountain range and seek out the Antigonus family's treasure trove. It's basically the same as the previous options. What's the possibility that even a Rhodes can't tell? Based on what I know about the factions in control of the Seer pathway, it implies that I should pray to the goddess for it. The goddess is the mother of concealment, so she can choose whether a Rhodes can see it or not. Klein's thoughts scattered and quickly made a connection. Of course, he didn't believe that directly praying for the Scholar of Yore potion formula would allow him to get it. It was too ridiculous. As though it was child's play. From his experience with the Nighthawks, he suspected that he might need to make enough contributions before he could obtain the Scholar of Yore potion formula and the Evernight goddess via a ritual. Making enough contributions, this sure is a familiar phase. Klein sighed as he began having some ideas. Clearly, he had hints of how to do it. So, handle the artifact death faction of the Numinous Episcopate. However, Klein suspected that the goddess only had up to the Scholar of Yore sequence for the Seer pathway potion formulas, and not the subsequent ones at angel levels. Interesting. Do-do-do. Where was I? The Fool card. Wait. Becoming hidden in Secret Palace, losing control, However, Klein suspected this was because the Antigonus family's angel didn't perish immediately back then, but had hidden in a secret palace, losing control to become a monster, and was in a half-sealed state. In addition, the Fool card was also there and hadn't been retrieved. At this moment, Klein had intentions of asking about Amon's avatars, but he suddenly recalled that within the memories of the rat demigod, the warning about the Marauder pathway angel and Amon had been given by this very mirror. As his thoughts flashed in his mind, Klein narrowed his eyes and looked at the full-body mirror and nodded. Alright, that's it for today. Could you imagine if he just, looked up at the mirror and Amon was just behind him? He was just there with his little monocle and hat. Alright, that's it for today. Headed back. If there's anything in the future, I'll summon you again. Yes, Master. Goodbye, Master. Your loyal and humble servant of Rhodes is constantly waiting to return to your side. Sometimes a road says stuff, and I just... But I'm also just... Light gathered on the mirror's surface, depicting a stick figure waving its hand. After everything returned to normal, Klein turned around and picked up his paper and previously drawn symbols. With a snap of his finger, he made it burst into scarlet flames. The ash floated down and spread open his left hand. In it were 2 maggots shimmering with solid, mysterious symbols. The 2 maggots squirmed gently, using their life force to fill the entire bedroom with madness and bizarreness. The surrounding lights then dimmed the brightness from time to time in a non-uniform fashion. There were none other than the worms of spirit which Klein had separated from himself. Suddenly, Klein reached out his right palm, suddenly pressing them towards... Hello. The 2 maggots. Instantly, his palm paused, and just short of touching the worms of spirit. He raised his palm again, lowering only to pause. He repeated this several times until he finally exerted his strength and deadpan expression. Amidst the invisible and illusory cracking sound, his head suddenly felt a sudden pain. This made his soul feel like it was being ripped apart. It was even more painful than encountering gunshot or slash wound. Klein used his clown powers to control the twitching of his facial muscles. After a few seconds, he raised his right hand and rubbed his temple inwardly, mumbling, "Indeed, the death of every worm and spirit deal damage to the spirit body. My current limit is 6. I'll temporarily stop trying. Let's see how long it takes to recover. Thankfully, this is a tolerable matter. Otherwise, it would be dangerous if the marionette is destroyed while the worm spirit is able to collect the time due to an intense battle. Yes, it's different from Amon's Worm's Time avatar. A bizarre sorcerer and spirit will not necessarily die when the... Are we going to see Amon again? I kind of miss him. You know, because here's the thing. I know he's a bad guy. Bad guy. Still to be determined. But I feel like the book just gets so much more interesting when he's in it. Because, like, I feel like this... Here's the thing. The second I read the word monocle and, Amon's comes out of the gate and he's just like, hey, I'm like, ooh, we're about to get real interesting really fast. And I kind of love that, you know? I feel like we just haven't gotten enough of him. Thankfully, this is a tolerable matter. Otherwise, it would be dangerous if a marionette is destroyed by the worm spirit and collect due time in intense battle. Yes, it's different from Amon's Worm's Time avatar. That's what I'm saying, is we're going up against his clone, so I feel like we're gonna get, like, a lot of Amon time, which I'm like, that's cool. That's kind of cool. Loving that. Really excited to see how Klein does it. Been waiting. Here's the thing. Klein talks about him all the time. Like, for someone who's not supposed to discuss him or, like, know of him, like, Amon is in Klein's mouth. Like, his name is in his mouth all the time. He thinks about him. He talks about him. Probably more than he thinks and talks about himself. Yes, it's different from Amon's Worms and Time's avatar. A bizarre sorcerer worm's spirit will not necessarily die when the marionette is destroyed. Most of the time, the bizarre sorcerer is able to retrieve them in time. It's because the distance between the body and the marionette isn't that exaggerated. After confirming the situation and waiting for the bionic characteristics contained within the worm spirit to return to himself, Klein rummaged for some materials and set up the ritual to pray to the Fool. After a series of tasks, Klein used the carcasses of 2 worms of spirits, 2 silver plates, and the complicated symbol which had previously recorded down to make 2 silver black bullets, of which the latter came from sake of Mercury will accept it. The 2 bullets were carved with strange, indiscernible patterns. They kept extending inwardly. That's what I'm, like, Zeratil's just gone. He's just off doing his thing. We don't really know what he's doing. I can't see it being good. I can't see anything that he is doing actively at this moment beneficial to anybody but himself. That's just the way it is, I guess. And I'm not wearing a suit. I'm just wearing a shirt and then a blazer. And that's because I was at work. The entire bodies were gleamy but not dark. Just one look at them made thoughts sluggish. Klein flicked his gold coin and divination together as his spiritual intuition to swiftly determine the abilities of the 2 bullets that targeted would immediately enter the state of Come on, you've got this. Paralysis. Upon being hit. The length of time that one was left in the state depends on the potency of one's spirit body. Even sequence 3 saints would be in a state of stiffness for 2 seconds. This already exceeds my powers. Of course, the premise is that can't be made. Oh, this is a result of the Great Bog's augmentations. These 2 bullets should be the same level as the Fate Siphon charms. Although, my worm time spirits can't be compared to Amon and Speaking of Amon again, bro. And Palaz's worms of time. The amount of power I can now draw from the serious space above the Grey Fog is clearly superior to what I could do in the past. I shall call them control spirit bullets. Klein drew Death Knell from his unarmed holster, snapped open the cylinder wheel, and stuffed the 2 silver black controlled spirit bullets inside. Following that, he spread open the piece of paper beside the altar and wrote, "Next, your mission is to seek out a relatively high charm and beyond our bullets. May God be with you. XXX, who raised 3 requests from you." The letter was written to Patrick Bryan of the Numinous Episcopate's official death faction. With the subordinate at my disposal who let him go to waste, as Klein mumbled, he folded the letter at the altar, and before he summoned Patrick Bryan's messenger, the surface of the desk burst into pitch-black flames and quickly gathered together, forming a translucent bird with dark feathers. The spirit world creature glanced and Klein slowly lowering his head to bite the envelope. Watching it disappear, Klein nodded slightly, inwardly muttered, "Patrick, contact companion, isn't of a low level either. He's got a little birdie." Watching it disappear, Klein nodded slightly and inwardly muttered, "Patrick, contact isn't of a low level." He quickly reined in his thoughts, took another letter, and fluently wrote, "I have already obtained the blessing of concealment. You can attempt to gather items of the Marauder Pathway demigod level. In addition, I found a way to crack the thief and replace the destiny. You don't have to be too anxious. Do you know how to create the darkness that induces the temporal dream world? If you have the time, can you head to Tingen and help me use 3-0782 to create flaring sun bullets? The mutated sun sacred emblem has the divine blood of the eternal blazing sun hidden in it. Only by sufficiently raising your strength can we be more confident with dealing with Amon's avatars." Loving that. Loving that. And this will probably be the last chapter because I gotta go make dinner. At 7 Pincer Street, Leonard, who had specially returned home to participate in the Tower Gathering, was just about to head to St. Simon Cathedral's basement to read the dossier so as to make preparations for his placating of souls at night when his vision suddenly went to a blur. He saw a messenger in a dark full dress holding 4 blonde red heads. As a soul-assurer, he could already see such creatures with spirit bodies. After taking Klein's Leonard didn't even have the chance to say thank you. When Renette Tinker turned around and walked into the void, she didn't even stay for long. "Old man, why does Klein have a messenger at this level? Is this a perk of being a blessed?" Leonard couldn't help but ask Pallas Zorest in his suppressed voice. He originally fantasized that it was a standard for every tarot club member, but he later realized that he had been imagining things. Pallas Zorest's slightly aged voice chuckled immediately. "It is likely to solely belong to Klein Moretti. Everyone receives some special fortress encounter. Isn't that the case? Isn't it the same even for a fellow like you? I thought you would use incomplete angel to describe her, but you ended up using messenger of this level. Not bad, you still remember my warning." Leonard curled the corners of his lips, spread open the piece of paper, and read the content in it. He indeed the blessed of concealment and fate. Pallas Zorest quickly scanned and heading through Leonard's eyes. Leonard didn't look at the ground. Instead, he took a few steps and threw himself to the embrace of the sofa before saying, "Klein can see through the thief and replacement of destiny. Then why don't we need to rush to seek out the items of the Marauder Pathway demigod level? Even if you were in a hurry, you have no idea where to seek them out," Pallas scoffed. "Even for the gathering of the Hermes of Fate, similar items needed years or even to appear even once, and the next gathering was to happen at the end of the year." Leonard was momentarily at a loss for words and could only cast his gaze at the last two paragraphs. After a brief silence, he chuckled. "I've always been curious as to where Klein received his high-level charm in Sun Domain when facing Magos. I thought it was provided to him by the Death Consul, but I couldn't understand why the Death Domain Angel would be gathering high-level charms of the Sun Domain. Wouldn't that be a suicide? Now I finally understand. Old man, I wielded 3-0782 before as well. Why didn't you notice that there were a drop of eternal blazing sun's divine blood hidden within that? If you could have solely stolen some power back then, things wouldn't have Leonard originally wanted to mock Old Man, but he went on and fell silent. Palazora sighed in his mind. If that drop of divine blood could be so easily discovered, that mutated sun's sacred emblem wouldn't have been in Tinjin. Leonard felt silent for a few seconds before asking, then how am I to create an opportunity to get the sacred sun emblem and create flaring sun charms? Although Klein made it sound simple in his letter, Leonard knew that it wasn't an easy task. This was because he wasn't a Nighthawk of Tinjin City. Even if he returned to visit his former colleagues and teammates, he had no authority to enter Channis Gate. Upon hearing this question, I don't want to go back to Channis Gate in Tinjin City. That was like the last time everybody was happy. And they weren't even happy. Why are you asking me something as trivial as this? Can you think for yourself? Leonard coughed uncomfortably as he began thinking seriously and solutions. I'm currently working alone, but the Archbishop is giving me authority to get the help of the local Nighthawks in the region in question. If all the souls in Backland have been placated... Yeah, we don't need to be reminded of that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, but we actually don't need to be reminded of that. No, it was like the last time anybody was happy in this book. And they were still dealing with stuff daily. Yeah. Don't need to be reminded that out of the core group, the core original group, just Klein and Leonard are still kicking it, and they can't even really talk unless it's to do with trading or a mission in the Tarot Club, you know? They're both severely depressed and need therapy. Klein's gone to it a couple times, but I think some more would maybe do him well. Yeah. No one's really doing too good. That's what I really hope they do too, because I wanted more. I wanted like, hey, remember when everybody was happy? Now it's not happy. Oh, Unknown, thank you so much. That's so very sweet of you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Unknown, you a real one. That was very, very sweet. Just 10 random people. But you know what? Hey, as long as it wasn't David and Transparent. I think Transparent still has hers, but not gonna lie. As long as it wasn't David or Transparent, I'm happy. But thank you so much, Unknown. That's very, very, very sweet of you. Shout out. As I'm like talking about like some of the most depressing aspects of the book, about how Klein's never gonna be happy again. How I wish we could go back. I know, she got like a little bit after everybody. And I think it is gone now too. So I'm just like, That's what she gets for talking shit. Any chance she gets. And that's what Davy gets for instigating it. Any chance he gets. After Leonard finished muttering to himself, Palazoris chuckled. Not bad, you came up with an idea so quickly. But have you thought about it? You are placating them. Unknown! Are you... I swear to... I'm gonna watch these because I have to make sure that it doesn't go to either one of those two. But that'll be good. Thank you, though. That's so sweet of you. Thank you, thank you. Did Romero get one? No. There you go. Dude, of course he did. Like, of all the people, of course he got one. Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Romero received it. Fuck. Even when he does nothing, he's still somehow winning. Does nothing and still just somehow wins. Bro, got that free message. Let's go. Speak your truth, king. Speak your truth. Or queen. Whichever one you want. Romero the absent. Well, thank you, Unknown. That's very sweet. Thank you. I know, I gotta continue reading. I'm almost done. It did lag a little bit. No, Return of the Forehead is crazy. Return of the Forehead is too much. We can. I always forget that that's one of the things for me. Not bad you came up with an idea so quickly. But have you thought about it? You are placating them. Oh, let's go. New art. Not purifying them. This is contradictory obtaining 3-0782. It will easily incur suspicion. Leonard, who had been praised, immediately laughed. Old man, that's because you aren't aware. Back when I joined the Nighthawks team, there was one line of an education I received. Only under the premise of having the ability to purify can placating achieve the best results. Emperor Roselle had also once said that to solve problems, you need to stick in one's hand and carrot the others. Palazaurus immediately tissed. Then follow your plan, of course. That's assuming you can finish Anthony Stevenson's mission in a week or two. If you haven't obtained the Sunflare bullets before the actual operation of eliminating Air Amon begins, then I would no longer be necessary. Leonard recalled the list of missions written in pieces of paper on his forehead twitched. He then forced himself to focus on his worries and mumbled, I wonder when the mission will punish the Sanguin will begin. I wonder if the Sanguin has a sealed artifact at the Mortar Pathways demigod level. Temporary dream world, I can create it myself. I'll find the chance to make some charms, but can power at this level be able to resist a corrosion of the darkness, the Forsaken Land of Gods? In an apartment in Cherrywood Borough, Forrest took out the novel, sat on the sofa, and watched Shio walk towards the lobby. As she wore her boots to head out, finally Forrest couldn't hold back her puzzlement, and she said, There's no rush. The gentleman said that there wouldn't assign a mission that quickly. Shio shot her a glance and said, I'm a bounty hunter, I have other missions. Upon saying that, she paused and said, after some deliberation, Forrest, do you think that Miss Justice resembles Miss Audrey? Forrest was taken aback for a few seconds before she snapped back to her senses. She subconsciously waved her hand and chuckled. How was that possible? Just as she said that, the similarities began flashing through her mind. Her eyes widened in response. After a while, she whispered, It's not possible. Spectator Pathway Psychology Alchemist Noble Lady, blonde hair and green eyes. She's the only noble I know that meets those criteria. Of course, I don't know that many other nobles. Furthermore, I have no idea of the ones I'm familiar with have anything to do with the psychology alchemist. Shio silently listened to her friend and said after some thought, Forrest, do you still remember the mission assigned to us by Miss Audrey? I originally thought that it was issued by Earl Hall, but on second thought, perhaps it came from the tarot gathering. Also, how do we know of Mr. Fool's honorific name? Do you remember? It was from books we borrowed from Viscount Glade. In the book cover was a strange ancient slip. For is not enlightenment. If we could discover it as good friends of Viscount Glade, Miss Audrey has the chance of discovering it as well. This can explain why she joined the gathering. Yeah, Shio agreed with Forrest's guess. Forrest opened her mouth and was just about to say something when she recalled that the matter of the Sanguin wasn't completely over. She immediately looked around warily and said, Shio, we should lessen our discussion of gathering in the future. As for Miss Audrey, we can visit her once a week or two. We can continue observing when the time comes. Shio snapped to her senses and nodded heavily. All right. She then opened the door and went to a particular bar in Eastborough and sat by the bar counter. Rapping on the table, she said to the bartender who looked up, Any new missions today? The bartender gave a rough list without mentioning any investigations of a particular Mr. Ernst Boyer. Indeed, I'll still have to wait till tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Shio looked around and retracted her gaze again, asked in puzzlement and concern. I haven't seen Sherman in a while. Do you know where he has been? Sherman was a young man who thought himself as a woman, one of Shio's informants. The bartender chuckled. Perhaps he ran off with some man. You do know that he's happy to do so if a man fancies him. That isn't something worth ostracizing him about. Ally. Cammy. Be nice. Loving Shio though. Rebutted seriously. No, right? Because I'm almost on chapter 1000. Feeling a baffling sense of concern. She then exerted strength in her palm and jumped off the high stool, prepared to seek out Sherman in the places he was unusually seen. Backland Bridge area, Iron Gate Street, Braveheart's bar. Holding down his hat, Emlyn pinched his nose and passed through the crowd and exuded all kinds of smells before finding the red-eyed Ian in the card room. Mr. White, what is this time? Ian smiled and led Emlyn into the empty billiard room. Emlyn took off his hat and quipped, something trivial, help me put a mission to the bounty hunter. The details of the mission to track the man named Ernest Boyer, figure out his daily activities. The bounty reward would be £1,000. £100. £100, Ian subconsciously asked. For instigation like tracking £100 is quite ridiculous reward. One had to know that the bounty hunter was able to complete the mission of his own. They could rest for an entire year, even if he was supporting a family. Emlyn nodded. The target was rather dangerous. After the discussion back when the Tarot Club had already thought it through, he believed that tracking Ernest Boyer was the easy mission. The Sanguin Viscount would definitely pretend as though he didn't notice anything and deliberately follow his trajectory. I've decided that I want to do Orv. I've decided it. And if it ends up... Here's the thing. It's not like I'm not picking up on the subtext. If there is maybe a little bit of subtext, I'm gonna have to. You don't have to join. Because here's the thing. I'm going to do Orv and then I'm going to do a different one. But I'm gonna have to. And if I'm gonna clock it, I'm gonna clock it. If it's there, it's there. It's not my fault. That's the author's fault for implying it. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm actually so excited. I'm wondering if I'm gonna like Orv more than I like Lord of the Mysteries. We're gonna see which one I like more. Yeah. Bye, Kami. It was nice having you around. Thank you so much for joining. I'm gonna become insufferable. Let's start there. I will become insufferable. Therefore, this £100 was in fact payment for misjudgment to take the risk of participating. No, because here's the thing. I'm all for Joe, don't call me out like, or not Joe, John, don't call me out like that. I'm all for the friendships. I'm all for male friendships. I think it's great. You know, there's a male loneliness epidemic. Sometimes they could be lonelier, but sometimes I'm all here for the male friendships. However, when there is the underlying subtext and you're clocking it and you're like catching it and you're like, hey, it's there. Don't hate me. The authors are the one that put it in. Okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore because I don't want it spoiled for me. I don't want anything else spoiled for me because I'm actually so excited to read this. Okay, back to what I'm doing at hand. Therefore, this £100 was in fact payment for misjudgment to take the risk of participating in the operation, of course, to aid the misdirection and concealment. It was almost certain that more than one bounty hunter would complete this mission, allowing them to earn different portions and rewards. Bro, if you thought Freak Era, the Fujoshi agenda, was bad for Lord of the Mysteries, I'm not even sure if y'all are ready for me to read this. I'm excited to read it just for the story because it sounds like here's the thing. I was about to say it sounds like a cool story. I have no idea what anything is about. I have no idea what Orb is about. I think I was even saying it wrong for like months. But I have no idea what it's about. I have no idea what any of the characters are. All I know is that you guys said that, you know, the Fujoshi side might come out a little bit. I don't know. I see. Coming to an understanding, Ian extended his hand. Down payment, exact address, level of danger. Looks like characteristic. It's best if you have a portrait. Red eyes. Ian flipped through the piece of paper and handed blurred out. Yes. Emlyn nodded gently and looked around him. He suppressed his voice and said, there's also something else. Help me seek out clues regarding the Bro School of Thought members in Backland. Is there an Orv anime coming out? Fuck, dude. Okay, I'm gonna finish this. Because now there's more coming out. Oh, what's up? What's up? Oh, Crimson. Hey. Long time no see. We were just talking about Orb. And, you know. Whatever else might happen. Rose School of Thought. Ian was taken aback as he said in puzzlement, as though he had never heard of the name. Perfect. We're gonna finish there for today. We're gonna finish there. Anyway. I know, I'm trying to rage bait and get everything done. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. No stream tomorrow. But then stream on Wednesday. And so on and so forth, and however that goes. But we are doing it on Wednesday. Wednesday we will get to chapter 1000. Mark my words. Other than that, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope you have a wonderful night, wherever you're at. Force Club, this stuff is actually on the way. I've actually slowly started collecting stuff. So some of it should be coming in this week or next week, I think. And then I've slowly got it, so it should be happening soon. Other than that, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your night. And I will see you guys on Wednesday, or I guess whenever that is for you.